Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Uh, I'll wait a minute, see if some people want to join in. Um, I've been trying to set up my OBS, so get some pretty good streams in lately. Um, I really enjoyed doing this, but like I said in the title, I don't have a actual lecture today or um, a specific topic. It's a Sunday. I did my workout this morning. Um, It was pretty good, and I'm going to be doing Murph tomorrow. Um, I'm really excited for that workout. I know I said I was going to be doing it RX this year, but I ended up getting an injury a couple weeks ago. Um, I was doing some ego lifting. I'm not going to lie. I was with my cousin. Well, he's my nephew, but I call him my cousin because we're about the same age. My sister's way older, and he was supposed to be spotting me. He didn't spot me, and I popped my shoulder out. It's an injury I've had for a long time. I got it in jujitsu, and I've been able to heal it, but sometimes you forget about your injuries and then they get re-injured. So that's basically what happened. I'm still going to do the workout. I've been able to do pull-ups and push-ups, but basically it's just um, a lot of pain afterwards. For the first couple of weeks, I couldn't even lift my hand over my head. So I've been able to fix that, and I still want to do the workout, and then probably sometime midway through the summer, I'll try to do it RX once my shoulder feels really good. If any of you are planning on doing Murph, let me know. Let me know if you're doing RX scaled. Um, for anyone who doesn't know, Murph is a CrossFit workout. It's called a hero WOD because we do it in honor of heroes. All the hero WODs are in honor of heroes. So somebody who served in the military or um, the police force or firefighters, ambulance, anything like that, we would do a hero workout. And a lot of times it's like that person's favorite workout. It's usually in honor of some sacrifice that they made. Um, and I have actually posted some of my hero workouts in shorts and things like that. Um, and the specific workout for Murph is going to be every Memorial Day. Um, and if you do it RX, which means as prescribed, it's a 1 mile run, 100 push ups. No, I've said that wrong. It's a 1 mile run, 100 pull ups, 200 push ups, 300 air squats, followed by a final 1 mile run. And you do this with a weight vest. I think RX is a 20-pound weight vest. I have done it with a 40-pound when I was like 26. Um, then I got my knee injuries, so I didn't want to run with the weight vest, so I scaled it 1 year. And then I would say I think it was the past 2 years, I did it without the vest. I was going to do it with the vest this year because I have the strength, I have the endurance, but the injury is really what's holding me back. Um, but it is a really good workout to do once a year. I mean, it's all body weight, so even with the vest, I mean, it's 20 pounds. It's not that bad. You would have to train with the vest beforehand, but it like pushes you to your limits, and that's why I like to do it. Um, it's way more fun than just going to the gym and working out. And honestly, like it's going to like these types of things are like my actual workouts. When I go to the gym, it's more just for like regulation more than anything. Um, just to get out of the house early, be able to clear my mind. A lot of times, actually, I kind of just drive past the gym and I go out and just find a place to run in the woods. Maybe do like some pull ups on a tree or something like that. Because really the point of it is to regulate. So I try to get out of the house before the sun comes out. That's a big thing. I have a spot I go to now when I skip the gym, which is really good. It's way up at the top of like a mountain. There's nobody there. I listen to Andrew Huberman and get my sunlight. So I sit up there. If I want to like start sparking some thoughts, I'll listen to a podcast. Which maybe actually I'll show you guys some of my favorite podcasts today. Um, but basically, I'll listen to a podcast, generate some ideas, take some notes in my phone. Sometimes I'll just meditate, and I'm just waiting for the sun to come out, just getting my daylight first thing as soon as I can. And I'll start drinking my energy drink or whatever it is. And actually, I've lately, one of my energy drinks is Celsius. Usually that's for like a really intense workout. Um, but I've been working with some other supplements and other energy drinks, something that is like less stimulating. So I actually got Andrew Huberman's his drink that he came out with, his energy drink, which is yerba mate, and it's actually pretty good. This is what it looks like. This one is actually the lemon flavor, and you don't get the crash from it the way that you would from like a Celsius or a coffee or anything like that. And it seems like it definitely, it claims that it's a mood enhancer. I can definitely see that. I definitely get more energy when I drink it. And then, well, or get like more motivated, kind of like happy to do something. Um, Without like the energy, like I don't get that like jittery energy of like sometimes I drink a Celsius and I come to sit down, and then like 30 seconds later I'm standing up and then I'm sitting down. And it's like a back and forth. With this, I really like this when I'm doing my schoolwork, especially, um, because I can sit down and just do my deep work. I don't get all the jitters and other thoughts coming in and out and things like that. So that's one of the reasons I really enjoy this drink specifically. Then I've also been looking into the frog fuel supplements. So I've started taking some of those. And one of those is a pre workout. They have this, and I've been taking this now. It's really easy because it's like a little 1 ounce packet. I think maybe 1 ounce or 2 ounce. Yeah, 1.2 fluid ounces. It doesn't taste that good, but it gives you a lot of energy. And there's no caffeine in this one. They do have a caffeinated one. Um, I'm trying to like really balance out how much caffeine I drink because I really do like my caffeine a lot. And I would probably have something caffeinated in my hand all day if I wasn't like consciously aware of the fact that it makes me feel like crap at the end of the day. So this one right here works really good because there's no caffeine. Um, has a lot of other things in it though, but it's like, I used to take C4 and get the tingles from C4. And then like C4 has gotten really weak lately, but if you take just this 1.2 ounce packet, like you can definitely get those tingles again. You kind of feel like you get in the zone. Um, and it says to take one of these packets for every 90 minutes of intense workout that you do. So I've only taken one. You really only, I don't see how you need to really. One works out really good. And I'll be taking both of these for tomorrow's workout. And then also, like, I have a few guys who are going to be doing the workout with me. One of them is my nephew, the one who didn't spot me. But we've been working out forever. I kind of like, yeah, it was going to happen sooner or later. Um, but I guess he's asked somebody else to come. I have another cousin coming. My niece and nephew might come. I really want them to come, but you know how it is getting teenagers to do things. And they're both pretty decent athletes. So it would be really good if they did this. I really think that, like, in my opinion, like the Murph workout should be like a basic requirement. Being able to do those without a vest, just, spend an hour sweating, breathing heavy, pushing yourself to the limits. And that should probably be what kids do in high school. Um, and even if you have really young kids, those are things that you can do with them. My son, he's 5, he does push ups. Um, the most he's done is 10 at a time. He loves to run. The kid will run for miles. He likes to do pull ups when I lower the bar, but the minute that I put him up on a high bar, he's like, no, I don't want to be up here. And I get that. Like, when you're short and you know that drop is going to hurt, um, you don't want to do that. So that's one of the things that I've been doing with him a lot, and it motivates me too because we'll go out. I have a home gym. I like to go to the gym when I'm on my own, but I also like to use my home gym. So I got some rings in there. It's pull up. I have a pull up bar. I have a whole squat rack that you can do bench pressing on. Um, And one thing I said when I decided I was going to out at home, it was that it was just going to be like a maintenance thing. So I only went up to 205 pounds total on my barbell, which is like good because I'm not gonna push myself to go deadlift more than I probably should. Um, I have days I go really heavy, but then just to maintain, it's just like move something. You actually, when you deadlift, you have to give yourself enough of a break to recover so that all your muscles can repair, especially if you're deadlifting heavy. Um, but also moving a lightweight multiple times is a really good way to make sure that you're greasing the groove basically. Your muscles are going to repair based on the movements that you are doing on a regular basis. So that's a really good way to protect yourself there. And these are just things that I've learned from years and years of weightlifting. I'll be honest now, it's just something I do, go work out in the morning. And I think that would probably, that's my number one recommendation to anyone. Um, it's a place to start, honestly. It's all about you. Um, it's a place to develop your ego. That's why ego lifting is a thing. A lot of times when you hear ego, you hear like it's a negative thing. I think ego is, for especially for young people, is very, very important. And then you dissolve your ego, and then you rebuild your ego. It's just that cycle. So that's pretty much what I think about that. But I really can't stop thinking about Murph. So like because I haven't been able to work out as hard as I would like to, I do know that like a lot of my repetition is going to be visualization beforehand. So I've been doing a lot of visualizing. I specifically try to visualize like maybe like the last 12 rounds, or like once I got to round 12, like the last 8 rounds where I know like looking up at the bar, I'm going to not want to jump to it because I'm going to be fatigued, and I'm going to be a little extra fatigued because of my shoulder. Up until like I think 3 weeks ago, I was doing pull ups every day. I would do sets of 5 because that's how I'm going to break up the workout. Now I haven't been doing that just because I don't want to put the stress on it beforehand. I'll do a couple pull ups just to make sure that I still have the strength. It still feels good. But I'm trying to save the wear and tear for the actual workout. And I don't know, I might try to stream that workout tomorrow a little bit or the beforehand. It's hard to stream the entire workout, honestly, because I have to run. So I have to run, and I like to run with my headphones in. And if I'm streaming on my phone, though, I guess I could bring my laptop, but then I have to get to the gym really early because the workout's at 9:15 and set up everything. I have to connect to the Wi-Fi and everything. So I guess I could try to stream from this, but it's really hard to stream from my phone because I want my headphones in. And once I'm like a tenth of a mile away, I'm not going to have any music. And running without music is probably the most boring thing that you can do. Um, so I have to see if I can figure that out. Either way, I may stream before, I may stream after, um, because that's what I want to do. I love like streaming, and I love talking to people and doing these types of things. Um, it gets you away, like you get you to like understand people when you get to stream and they come and talk to you. You also just being on YouTube or just making videos in general, it allows you to like think a little bit more deeply about things, learn how to present things, or realize where you suck at presenting things. Um, yeah, that's kind of what I think about a lot. Um, like how do I suck at presenting things, kind of. Um, but that's why I'm working on it. I'm getting better at presenting things. Not just staying in my own head because I think that's really important. It's a big part of development. And I would say a lot of what I do now, like outside of weightlifting, is probably more of my shadow work. Um, and like I think for a lot of people, the weightlifting is going to be the shadow work. And then there's a lot of different ways that shadow work comes up. But I think it's really important that like throughout life, you are looking at the things that you've been ignoring, the things that maybe you didn't want to confront, and then confront them. Um, recognize where you may not have information that would be useful to you, kind of. That's something that I do. Um, and yeah, that's basically what all this channel is about. Is, the fact is, we're always going to come to a point where we're like, why are we doing this? Why does the world seem um, like it's against you? Why do things not seem as much fun as they should be, or that they are always complicated, overly complicated, like more complicated than they need to be? And a lot of that is just the systems that are in place. But I think the systems are going to be collapsing, which is why these more organic, natural, human things are so important. Um, but I really do kind of think like the the boxed in systems are going to be changing. I don't know if they're going to go away, but they're going to change. The ones that exist are going to collapse, and then there will be new ones, and they're going to be based on AI. So I don't really know exactly if it's going to be less rigid than it is, or um, uh, like when you think of the purpose of AI is ordering things and structuring things. So you do see like there could be this rigidity to it. I don't really know. Um, I think it depends on how people decide to use it, basically. Um, but I think that like learning technology is, I think, like as fundamental as working out, kind of like, and the technology now is way more advanced, but like, you know, there was something to learning to drive a car. There was something to learning how to use a computer at a young age. I definitely observed that the kids who were allowed to use computers, whose parents bought them computers, because when I was young, not everybody had a computer. Um, and that was only, what, 20 years ago? About 20 something years ago. Um, not everybody had a computer. Now everybody has a computer, and you can see the people whose parents got them computers had a different upbringing and a different experience in school than the ones who didn't. I always had a computer. My dad monitored it highly. Like he learned how to put like trackers into his computer in like the early 2000s so that he could watch what I was doing on it. I got caught doing some bad things once in a while. But I still think it's a fundamental thing to learn technology. Um, it's almost like an extension of our cognition, in my opinion. I do believe that, which is why like things like brain chips, though I see where they could get a little wild, I'm not like I'm not like really anti it. I mean, I kind of think if we know the system's done right, I would probably get one. I mean, but then again, like I'm still thinking about the system behind it, and that would be what prevents me from actually getting one. But there are a lot of things that like that would allow you to do that would just seem like straight out of a sci-fi movie. It would be pretty cool. Um, like controlling equipment with your mind. I mean, it doesn't get much cooler than that, to be honest. Um, But I don't know. I guess I'd have to see. Who's in here? Anyone got any questions or anything? Um, if not, I'm probably gonna go. I put some images up into a folder so I could kind of share them. I want to show you guys something cool that I did with AI for my son's birthday. Um, and then just share some of my models. So I spend a lot of time trying to like formalize the things that I'm doing, knowing that like I'm going to create them later on. It's just something that's fun to do more than anything. But yeah, let's see what I got. I do have some things. Let's see which ones I want. Oh, this is what I did for my son. Me and my son, we love God of War. I've streamed my playing on here a few times when Ragnarok came out. Um, and like I said, I don't, my son's 5, but I don't tell him he can't play God of War. There are other M games I don't let him play. He's allowed to play T games. Um, I played video games growing up. It didn't destroy me the way some people say. I think a lot of people say things destroy um, destroy people, like, or like ruin them or whatever because they didn't do it the right way. Um, I see like my son playing God of War as like he's learning mythology more than anything, and I'm not going to deter him from that. I do explain to him like it's a video game, it's not real life. He can articulate that back, like, oh, they're just characters and things like that. And I think like learning to talk with your kid is really important because then they can experience life, like the reality of life, and be able to understand it without like going too far into it, like thinking he likes to pretend he's Kratos, but he knows like you don't just go like hit somebody or anything like that, and he knows how to control his aggression for the most part. He's still a 5-year-old boy. He's gonna have some aggression. It is what it is. Um, but like I think it kind of opens his mind to things like, hey, like there is still this archetypal male figure in Kratos. He went from like and that's actually like a big part of what I try to show you guys is like male aggression is a thing early on. It's a necessary thing. But then through like experiencing that, like, it impacts you. If you are the male who is being aggressive, you will be impacted by it at some point. And then you will begin to um, use your cognition to kind of interpret that. And I do think that's where you start seeing people kind of say, okay, well, maybe I won't be that aggressive. Maybe I'll save my assertiveness for when it really matters and things like that. So I don't mind letting him see that. And then he tells me, like, well, he tells me I'm strong like Kratos, or he makes me call him father. And he calls me boy, you know. I told him we're going to put an end to that. Oh man, but the kid is awesome. But here, I'll show you guys. This is what I did with AI for his birthday. I did some other things with videos too, but I'm just going to show you this one because it's really cool. But I basically took a picture of Kratos and then a picture of my son and had AI merge them together, and it looks friggin' awesome. Honestly, he loves it. What I want to do is get this printed out onto like a Canva, and then he could hang it up in his room. But if you ask me, the kid makes a really awesome Kratos. This is what he was for Halloween last year, and it's what he wants to be for Halloween again next year. So he's found something he's really interested in. It has depth in the story and mythology. And, I send him to a Catholic school. So sometimes I'm worried that they're going to get upset that I let him do this, but I don't really care. He learns a lot. The kid's really smart, really articulate, and he would be bored if I didn't let him do this. He looks at little kids' games and he like rolls his eyes. He did plays Luigi's Mansion too. Like I do make him play. So we have a rule. Like you know, the rule is that he gets to play God of War on the weekends. And during the week, if he wants to play video games, it's on the Switch. So it's more like Mario and Luigi and Mario Kart, Donkey Kong. I've been playing Donkey Kong, but generally, like I try to balance it out. So as long as he's good in school, I don't get any complaints from teachers. He's allowed to play God of War on the weekend, and then I play with him, and it's a really good time. It's fun, and I have a reason to keep playing the video games I love. Um, so that's why like when people are like, "Oh yeah, having a kid like takes away all the fun that you can have in life and stuff like that." I'm like, no, I don't necessarily think so. I think society probably makes it like that because they tell you, oh, don't do this with your kid and don't do that. But I'm like, I'm gonna make my own rules um, because a lot of it is just like they don't want boys playing these games, so that way boys don't get to see these archetypes, the reality that there is like this real masculine archetype. They'd rather them see other things, like Miss Rachel and things like that. And I'd rather my son see like, hey, like this is like more of what your development's going to look like. You're going to be a tougher person. It's okay. Um, and that's just one thing. Let's see, I have this folder now that I just have because like so that way I have a bunch of ways of showing you guys a bunch of different things, but it's not organized yet. Oh, so like this is one of my models I use is like Brenners, which kind of is really good when you need to transition. You know, like when you move from your microsystem, which is your family, to a larger microsystem, more like your school, um, your place with your peer, or any place you go to with your peers. So like any sports you do or anything like that. Moving more out to like the mesosystem, which is more like the interaction between your microsystems kind of, so like you know your how your parents relate to your friend group, how your parents relate to your teachers and things like that. um, that's really important because um, a lot of times when you look at the interactions between parents and teachers, some parents like support teachers, some parents don't necessarily support the way that teachers think. That's going to affect your development. Like what I brought up the other night, like, the school didn't like that I had to fight the bully. I still got suspended for the 10 days, which is BS, by the way. um, there is no nuance to how they determine who gets suspended in a school. And then, the bully gets just as, or the bully gets in trouble, and then the person who is doing the protecting gets in trouble too. My parents never were like, okay, well, because the school's mad at you, we're mad at you. They kind of knew I was never going to start a fight. Like, I would start it if I knew it was going to happen, but I wasn't the person out looking for a fight. And the schools don't look at it like that, which I really think is like BS kind of like, you should be teaching young men to like fill their role in society and not punishing them for it. That's my opinion. And sometimes, that means getting physical. It just does. Um, and my mom used to make fun of the principal because he was a sissy, and he would always get me in trouble because he wanted me to be one. And that wasn't what we were about. So that's not what we did. But anyway, so like that's like an interaction between the mesosystem. Oh, and then like my friend group was always like really close to my family. So like my parents basically set it up like, you know, you can go out, but like they would rather me stay home. So we had like a fire pit in the backyard, and I would invite my friends over, and most of the time they would just sleep over. That way everybody was safe and everything like that. And then my friends like were really close with my parents. And there's other people who where the kids don't even know about their parents, like they don't know what their parents do for work or anything like that. There are some where the parents don't want their friends around and stuff. So these are all types of things that are going to affect your development because if you came from a family that didn't allow friends over, and this really does happen, there are people who say like, I don't want your friends over, they're going to make a mess or they're going to do this. You may have a harder time socializing later on in life because of that. So yeah, it's just something that I like to consider once in a while. Let me see. Is anybody in here? Let's see. Let's see what's going on. Well, a lot of this is for any of you who are going to be watching this later anyway. For some reason, my live streams get more views after I stream them, is what it is. Maybe my titles suck, but I don't know. It is what it is. I guess maybe I could like change my stream settings. Um, I don't know. Anyways, if you guys have any questions, let me know, but we'll go through these systems. So you have that exosystem. Um, so this, I kind of jumped to this, but like where your parents work, the community services, what media, like mass media, the news outlets and things like that are portraying and things like that. So it's a little less direct, but it's still having an impact on you. It's probably impacting your parents, like how they begin to perceive how they should raise you is probably based on what they see in the media. Like, oh, there's a bunch of kidnappers in white vans right now, so we're not going to let our kids out of the house. Um, but honestly, that's why I figured like live in the woods if you can. Honestly, that's my opinion. Um, I have a few neighbors. We all know each other. But if you came to where I lived, you would get lost coming here. I live in the middle of the woods. Everybody who comes here definitely gets lost coming here. So, um, I guess if you have kids, it's probably easier to raise them in the woods. Um, then they can go out and not worry about getting hit by a car all the time. Um, there's a lot less people for you to have to know because basically, if you live in the city, you're not going to be able to know everybody. You live in the woods or in the country or however you want to put it. You can know more people who are around you. And I think it's just generally a good place to live. But so, yeah, like in my area, our exosystem is more about like um, the extracurriculars. We still watch the regular news, but it's definitely not like, oh, you have to like be cautious all the time. And that's why I think people like, everyone's moving to the city and stuff, but like, I don't know, with the way the world's going, I wouldn't want to live in a very um, crowded place, to be honest with you. I like where I live because, we have little farms and things. I've talked about that before. And, I have a lot of land, so like you can make your own gardens and things like that. Where like if you're in a crowded place, you don't get those possibilities. So like that's like a good goal I think people should have. Um, I think moving to the city is usually like in an effort to get like famous, but there are a lot of worse things go on in a city, in my opinion. So I like where I'm at. Um, yeah, so then you have your more macro system, which is like societal attitude. So like wokeness, like that's a societal attitude. Um, cultural values. So like, from a Jungian standpoint, like MBTI, like cultural values are like a lot of people think it's like TE. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think SI probably, but I don't see like our cultural value being TE. Um, at least not like growing up. Like a fact is most people don't do TE like in like a dominant way. They're not trying to like continue climbing and build systems. They're trying to just fit themselves into a system. And SI is definitely the more valued thing because people want you to be like indoctrinated into their system and then take that on as your worldview. And um, so those are like values. So like, and then like they teach you your values basically through SI. That's what a lot of my stuff is. And just so like I know like people have said I don't speak simply enough. So SI is introverted sensing. When I work with Personality Hacker, like how they have given it as like a single word that you can use to understand it is its memory. So it's when somebody uses this function in a dominant way, it means that they want to work from their memory. They want like things that they do consistently. That way they don't have to like spend a lot more time trying to reconstruct things, deconstruct and reconstruct because they have a set system of values, protocols, procedures, and everything that they follow. And that's what society wants. That's why they set up education in that way. Um, and that does not usually um, require like a high level of extroverted thinking. It's usually like a mid level kind of. That's why SI goes to TE. Um, because the truth is the systems are there to slow down that development to a higher level. I've being in college, I've noticed it. Like, um, there are so many times when like we should move on to the next thing, or we should look at something a different way, especially with the AI and stuff. Like I see it. Like the colleges want to slow it down as much as they can. They want to make it like a moral framework. They want to talk about bias, which is BS because the I mean, I get you could program bias into it, but once the AIs get to the point where they're learning for themselves, they're just going to draw on objective reality. And they aren't going to have the same bias. You can accuse them of bias, but it's going to be yeah, it might look like a bias, but it's not a bias in like I'm doing this because I don't like you and I want you to have a certain outcome. It's like I'm biased because the bias is real. And that's kind of how I see a lot of things when I hear and a lot of it about bias. It's like no, they're just objective facts that the only interpretation could be seen biased. Like So yeah, I wouldn't say like bias is painted as a bad thing, but it's just objective reality. It's like you're not biased because you say men are stronger than women, like physically. It is a fact. The strongest man is stronger than the strongest woman. I know this because I have wrestled with very high level female athletes who were training to go to the Olympics, and they couldn't beat me. And I would say any man who has wrestled like at a decent level could beat an Olympic level female wrestler. It's just a fact. So, and that's not a bias, like, but it would be painted as a bias, as something like I'm saying negative, and I'm like, but I'm not. It's why gender roles are important and why we shouldn't necessarily give them up, kind of. And then, like, right now, like, we should be looking at like the chrono system, which we see here, because we have like big environmental changes that have a big impact on social change. Um, and it's where we're going. And I really do think we're going to see a very different world than where we are like right now. Um, my stream health is excellent. That is great to know. Let's see what else I can show you guys. Oh yeah, this is the one that I made because I really did want to get away from type as it is and more look at cognition or Jungian functions as something that changes like through experience, through going in and out, inwards and outwards. Um, so I created this model, which I have shared, which honestly, when you learn how AI learns, when you look at all those things, like you can't you can't discredit the fact that like everything starts with perceiving outwardly. Like, even if it's, babies can't see, but they're still perceiving their mother's touch. They're still like an inward, they get like a sensation of like being hungry, right? And then extroverted sensation is like getting the food when they cry, and then they store that as a memory, like, hey, as long as I cry, my mom will feed me. And then that adapts once they start eating solid foods. Then they realize I don't like some foods, I do like some foods. So everything just starts as like detecting the world. Then like recognition is that SI, like being able to recognize like, oh, that means I'm hungry, which they don't actually need to recognize, but like it is stored in their body, and then they know to cry. And then then this guy can be at different levels too, because they can feel the touch of their mother, and there is actually like a biological response to that. And then as they develop even farther, they get to this point where they recognize their parents, and they recognize their parents over other people, and then they develop like a here they do develop like an attachment, like, so I think like FI and TI is like that attachment, where they prefer their parents over other people, which again, by the way, in academia is called a bias. um, if a white baby prefers to look at a white person, it's a bias. And like if a black baby prefers to look at a black person over a white person, it's a bias. And that's kind of what I was getting into with the whole bias thing. It's like, no, it's like you were, it was like, you were raised with a certain type of person. You're looking at that person because they remind you of your parent, and you have some type of connection to that through SE and SI. Um, and then, they get put into external structures eventually, like schooling, sports, and all those types of things. And I would definitely say like what school you send your kid to is going to depend whether they're going to experience the extroverted thinking pressure or like the extroverted feeling pressure. Um, I would say most public schools are more like, a bare minimum of extroverted thinking, as long as you can get the decent grade and get to the next grade, then you're doing good. But it probably pushes more like FE, like, appease everybody, do what you're supposed to do, and things like that. And um, those are just different types of structures. And then, if somebody really is like a very strong FE person or TE person, they're going to eventually end up in those positions if they want to later on in life. Um, but then you're going to have some people who rebel against those things, the FE and the TE. Um, so anyway, yeah. And then so if they rebel, so if they rebel, that's an important thing to think about with this FE and TE. Some people are going to adapt to it. They're going to have the structure laid out for them. You'll see them end up in college and they'll see them end up in that career. But if they don't, then they resist something. And that's when you get into like TI and FI. It's a resistance to something. It's a critique of something. That's why TI critiques, because it resists what that external judgment is, which is why if you are a TI person, you need to start pushing to reconstruct things into a way that you would want it to be. Like you can't just critique it. My niece said so. My niece gave my son a book once, and it said it's not, and she wrote a quote in it. Like, right, she gave him the book. It was a Dr. Seuss book, and then she wrote it to him when he was born. It said, "It's not enough to be against something. You must find something to fight for." And I think that's where TI and FI are. They see things that they don't like, so they need to find something that they do want. And then, and that's when you get into your shadow of like, sometimes you got a TE thing, sometimes you got an NI things. Like, what is the next move you can make? How can you do it effectively? And that's my idea of all of this. And then, you should get to spend some time with yourself because you make these moves and you make these changes and you make these transitions. So you get to start spending time with yourself, um, your real self. Like, you're doing the things that put you in flow. So you don't have to resist things as much anymore. Um, though with the model, there's always going to be a cycle. I think it's a season. And if you can really start looking at your life like that, you can move through the transitions much faster. That's what I'm working on doing right now. Um, this is the next thing I have to do to get to where I want to be, to live the life I want, to build the life for my family, and all of those things. And like, it's more important than you can think. Like I said the other night, it's cool to have friends and it's cool to have people to talk to, but like building your own thing is really, really important. And then bringing those people into it with you is also a great benefit if that's something that you can do. So yeah, I have that. This is the model. And basically, I think the idea is to get back to this like childlike place where, you're still doing things, but it's not stressing you out all the time. And I'm kind of getting there with these. I mean, it does stress me out that no one comes in here, but like, whatever, sooner or later, maybe. Um, just if the right person does it, sees it. But I think for models, that's like, I have a bunch, um, but I'm not going to go through them all today. But if you guys watch this and you say, hey, I'd like you to go deeper on that, maybe I'll do that. But like Maslow's hierarchy is one I've been using since high school. I think I used that first. It makes a lot of sense. That you can't really self-actualize until you build up the fundamentals. Um, so that's why I really do enjoy using Maslow's hierarchy, and a lot of it really does relate to Jung, like SE, physiological needs, SI, safety needs, FI and FE, love and belonging. Or I guess that could be FE and TE more so, um, where like your esteem needs are going to be TI and FI. Like, what do you think about yourself? And then like NI and NE is more of a self actualization thing. But I'll go deeper into that another time. Um, so yeah, we got that. And then what else? Oh, I made this for school actually. Um, it's really cool. I basically went through the ethics of BCIs. Um, which I still think are so cool. They are scary. There's no doubt about it. Like it's definitely a scary thing to see, um, that people are going to have chips in their head one day. And I think it's going to be like a fad, like but like a long-term fad, like a commodity thing where, they're going to style them, they're going to get different colors, they're going to have wristbands to go with it. It's going to be awesome. um, but yeah, this is something that I did for school, and I really like this poster actually. I do all my research myself. I put everything together, and then I have AI help me with designing everything. I've been using AI to help me design posters a lot. I hate making posters, but if I like, I like doing the research, and I like the material, and I like to know the functionality of things. But then actually like putting it together as an aesthetic thing, isn't my favorite until I started using AI, and like just kind of iterating on that is a lot of fun. Saying no, I don't like this, I do like this, and I gave my AI access to my Canva account, so it's pretty cool anyway. But yeah, these are just some of the things that I've been doing with AI for more fun. I try to like teach my son about it. So I just show him what I'm doing, and then I'll just run through these really quick. This is my AI powered service business model. I built this because I'm helping my wife use AI in her business. And it's like, it's really not bad right now because like she has a lot of data that like was just sitting there, and I went into like her computer system, pulled the Excel sheets, and now we're trying to figure out exactly what we want it to do. Um, but she uses some basic like chat things and stuff to for customer interactions, but like there is definitely a way that we can start figuring out how to build better packages and stuff like that. So I did create this. Like basically anything I create is just because, hey, I'm doing it and I want to document it. I've always told people document your process. Um, the thing is, I do so much like that it goes all over the place. Sometimes I'm working with employees, sometimes I'm working with other business owners, sometimes I'm working with people who want to start a business. So I have to have all these different layers of working with people, and I that's what I like to do. When somebody actually uses the system and it works for them, or they find something like, hey, you could add this, that's really good to do because then we can make the systems better. And this system is really important to me because it is the future. That's why I'm learning it right now. Because this is what we are going to be doing in a few years. Not too many, like maybe one or two. And I think that's pretty important. So that's what I've been um, putting a lot of models together like these. But yeah, I'll put that away for now because those are pretty good. What I do want to do is there's actually so I've actually been I don't know if you guys saw, but I've kind of been sharing on here some of the YouTubers that um, YouTubers or podcasters that I really enjoy who have helped me in my development because they have good content or they interview people. Like I've talked about Personality Hacker, I talked about Chris Williams, and I want to do more of that. So maybe I'll just share one right now, um, because there's actually somebody that I've been listening to. Obviously, I listen to like Joe Rogan. Um, I have a lot of actual people that I do. I listen to podcasts all the time. It is pretty much like while I'm doing homework, I'm listening to a podcast. I like to have that in my ear while I'm doing something. Um, but maybe I'll share one of my favorite ones in a second. Let me see if I can pull it up because this one is really cool because the the guy is actually he does statistics, but then he goes into other industries. Um, and he takes his statistics and applies it there. And I'm pretty sure, like, I think he was like an INTP, he is an INTP or like an ISFJ. He's one of them. And I'm pretty sure he has like a pretty similar perspective on it to me. And I think he's like getting into his NE right now. Um, it does actually like seem like that. He's getting into his he's going into the physics world. He's going into the psychology world, and he's looking at their research, and he's improving it, and he's making connections. He has this test online, where you can take an MBTI test, a Big Five test, and an Enneagram test all in one place, and you get the entire thing that comes back. And I'm going to share. I just got to set it up. I'm talking too much to set it up, but I am going to do it. Let me see. Mm, Let me see. I got to pick the screen. What screen is it? Podcast. Boom. All right. We're going to take the filter off so that you guys can see it. All right. So it's this guy right here, actually. Uh, Clearer Thinking, um, with Spencer Greenberg. It's really it's awesome. Honestly, I just found it a little while ago, and I've definitely been enjoying it. You could see lately he's been talking about things like string theory, but before that he kind of looks at like, are we in an honesty crisis? How will AI impact us? And it does seem like he's really trying to add clarity to a lot of the research, because we know that there's a replication crisis in a lot of the research from academia. It may be malicious. He doesn't like to say that. I'm a little bit more blunt about it. I think that people have agendas in their research and they push anything that they would like to see. Um, but it's okay. He's doing good work. So that's important. And then I can probably show you, um, and he's on YouTube too. And he really does. He does a really good job interviewing people. You could tell like he does a lot of research before, so he understands the topics. And then, having that statistics background is really big, because statistics, like, if you know it, you can see where people are fudging things, or you can see where people are making bad claims. You can see why things can't replicate. You can see why things that statistically make sense don't make sense in reality. And I think like he kind of addresses that. I think he does it kind of subtly, but he does in some way, which is pretty important. But maybe I can show you guys like he what the assessment is like, because I have that. Because obviously, you guys know I like to take personality tests. So let me see. It's called the Ultimate Personality Test on his website, and I'm gonna share them. View my full report, and let's just change the screen. Uh, and just so we know, this isn't an admission of my type. I know a lot of people think I'm this type, but the way he did this is like there are everything you were going to come down to like a specific type based on traits and everything. I personally, my thing is I like to separate the traits, because traits I think are more easily changed. Cognition is something you have to get into. Where like there is this like back and forth behind them. Like I think if you can cognitively say you should be more open, you can become more open. You can develop the trait of openness. If you cognitively recognize that you can be more agreeable, you can develop the trait of agreeableness and things like that. So it's a little bit different than mine, but it's still cool when you just see all the correlations, because that's what this really is correlations. So I did get ENTJ, type 8, CEO, pretty high in openness, conscientiousness, I'm in the middle, extroversion, I'm in the middle, agreeableness, I'm low, and neuroticism, I'm low, which is why, like, anybody will tell you I'm fairly agreeable. Um, I have to tell myself I'm going to be disagreeable when I'm going to be. So that's just one thing. But we can open the snapshot. Let's see what we got. So CEO, ENTJ, get your free personality. Oh, that's why. It's that. See page 2. So it's multiple pages. I don't have the full $9 thing, but I may actually buy it because I'm talking about him on here, and I would like to support the people who I think are doing good work. Um, so I'm assertive, data driven, and born to lead. I value logic over emotion and freely express your opinions. Um, Simply put, I'm the captain of my own ship, sailing through storms without asking for directions. Rarity 4% of people share my cluster among 63,000 people globally. It tells you your strengths. So decisions with confidence. I excel at logical reasoning and I make new friends with ease. Um, some of my weaknesses are in there. So people find me intimidating. Yes, I know that. I'm not always the best listener, though I think I have gotten much better at it. And I prioritize my goals over others, making them feel undervalued. Like I explained in my last live stream, I think my development growing up kind of made it different, which is why if I really am an ENTJ, I feel like an INTP a lot of the time. Most of the time, I don't feel like an ENTJ. Like I don't like I know other ENTJs and I see the difference. Like, but anyway, that's just something that I'm just saying. Like, um, so it gives you tips on how to improve your relationships with others. Gives you some examples of who they have typed as ENTJs. So like these I can like relate to. Like I think I've always said Elon Musk is a TI Dom. Um, a lot of people think NI Dom, but to say he's an ENTJ, that's like way out there. But the correlations are there with traits. But which is why I really think you have to separate the two, but understand like yeah, there probably are in a basic normal development and what's expected in development. There's probably traits that go along with the specific cognition, but like not everybody has a normal development. Like I don't even think you could like I've been listening to Chris Williams and he talks about it. Like when they try to do everything on an average, it doesn't end up fitting anybody. So you can't just do averages. And I've always recognized that. I never articulated it until I heard it and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, that's definitely what like you averages don't work the way that people think they do. If you try to find the average of a bunch of people, you're not going to have a solution for anybody." And it's kind of really interesting. But yeah, that's what Chris Williamson has been talking about lately, and I think it's pretty cool. Um, but yeah, if anybody's in here, just let me know if you have any questions. Uh, I'm going to show you some more of this, by the way. Oh, you guys are seeing me on here. Huh? That's pretty cool. Uh, so my anti-personality is the quiet soul cluster. I want to learn about this a little bit, so I'm going to read it. This quiet soul cluster is one that you're least of all 16 types. That you're the least of all 16 types. They may not crave the spotlight, but their support makes others shine. While the idea of leadership may make them uneasy, their knack for diffusing tension is invaluable. Amid the roar of heroes and ego, they're the quiet harmony that brings the whole song together. Um, Interesting. So what is this like? Sounds like Quiet Crusaders, like the FI types. Um, but it's also like ISFJs. Um, I wonder. Yeah, okay. But yeah, I'm not the quiet soul. I know that. I love like archetypal names. Like I just do. They talk about how accurate these tests are. He gives you your big five analysis. So I'm higher in agreeableness than 11% of other users. My conscientiousness is high, which anytime I take a big five test, my conscientiousness is high, which sounds great, but it's not always the greatest thing to have high conscientiousness. It would be cool if you could turn it off. That's why we're getting brain chips, guys. Extroversion. It says I'm high on extroversion, the tendency to be socially energized, attention enjoying. I guess I'm on YouTube. Conversational and group oriented. I do like that. A medium score like yours suggests you can enjoy both social interactions and solitary activities. Yeah, I definitely am. That's definitely where I am, which is why I've always said like introversion and extroversion is a play between the two. Um, Neuroticism is low. Yes, I do agree with that. Sometimes I think if I was more neurotic, I would maybe do more. Um, I would have more urgency towards something sometimes, but yeah, I don't like the Enneagram at all, but it's in here. So my type is 8, which is the dynamo, which means I'm self-assured and firm. I thrive when you're in control and take charge when necessary. Yep. You naturally adopt the role of protector and are known for your no-nonsense communication style. However, you can sometimes seem aggressive and overbearing. Yeah, that's why no one comes into these live streams, because I'm aggressive and overbearing. Um, uh, ba- ba. So he puts in stages of progression, and I really like that. So optimal would be self-disciplined, generous, and willing to sacrifice for a noble cause. Average would be you're strong and assertive, but might become self-absorbed. Or negative, you may become arrogant with a misguided belief in your own heroism. And yeah, I'm not going to tell you which one I am, but you guys can figure it out. So the growth path. This gives a lot, honestly. That's why I really like it. It's a lot of information, um, and you could literally feed it into like your AI, or something like that. I'll make this bigger for you guys, I guess. Ba- ba. That way you guys aren't hurting your eyes looking at it. Um, so, oh, top two Enneagram scores are only 3 points apart, while we've highlighted your highest score type above. You likely share traits with multiple types. And this is why I'm saying, like, traits are important, like, but it's different than cognition. There's no doubt about it. But there is going to be correlations. There's no doubt about it. Like there's just these realities, these dual realities. Um, so consider exploring both types, 8 and type 5. So let me learn more about type 5. Like I said, I was never big into the Enneagram. I've never never even like really tried to figure out my thing on it. Like my intuition and my thinking are what I identify with, kind of like those are what I think make me like different in a way. Like that's what I rely on. Where I think like, yeah, some people, I'm sure there's certain Enneagram types where like that's what they really rely on is the Enneagram. Like, um, so type 5 is the analyst. I think I try to do that. That's why I feel like an INTP sometimes. Um, an attentive and curious mind. You fuel your thirst for knowledge by diving into complex ideas and skills. You thrive on autonomy and innovation. Although this may lead to becoming engrossed with your own thoughts, observing the world from a safe distance, you sometimes struggle with self absorption, pessimism, and solitude, with a fundamental fear being vulnerable and inadequate. Um, yeah, that's why making myself come on YouTube is what I have to do. This is my shadow work. It really, really is. People um, I would keep a lot of this to myself before, unless I was like working with somebody who asked for it, but I was like, no, I think the world probably needs to know some of these things or needs some tools for direction. Um, that's because everyone's uncertain, and these kind of things help you like have more certainty and confidence and things like that. So I am getting past those weaknesses, and I do think everybody has like a split personality, and maybe it's more from the Enneagram than it is from type. Now that I'm thinking about it through here right now, maybe that split in your personality comes more from the Enneagram, and maybe I should spend more time like learning this because 5 and 8 both seem like a lot of my traits. It seems like where my inner conflict comes from a lot. Where like with the MBTI, I know how I use those functions. So maybe I have to go a little deeper on this. Um, just something I'm considering right now. Bu- let's see. So if I am a 5, then the progression stage is from negative. You may become overly private and consumed by frightening thoughts. I don't really have the frightening thoughts, but I did feel like I was being overly private for a lot of my life. Like I was just doing my thing and I was like, oh, I should share things with people, but I wouldn't. Even when I wanted to, I backed out and then I had to learn, like the same way I had to learn a lot of things, put yourself out there. And it's what I'm telling other people to do. Um, as an average, you're a keen observer and deep thinker. And then as optimal, it's more innovative and it's like offering people better solutions and things like that. And I do think I have this split. I really do. Which is why I think like, maybe I should look at the Enneagram because I know they give like the Enneagram type and then the wings. So like it kind of talks about that split, which I don't think is so much cognitive as much as it is probably archetypal. Like me just figuring out roles, and like I think a lot of people are trying to figure that out. Like what role do I want to play in the world? How can I do that? How can I do that in the way that I want to do that? Right. Um, though I don't really struggle with that as much right now. Like that is where like I am a lot of the time. So I'm not the expressionist. That makes sense. As a self-conscious and emotionally responsive individual, they value their uniqueness and express it in everything they do with a high regard for sincerity and creativity. They may occasionally isolate themselves, succumbing to feelings like sadness and self-sorrow. Yeah, I don't really get sadness or self-sorrow. Um, And then your Enneagram type may integrate traits from other types. The theory proposes wing types, adjacent types influencing your personality. For instance, type 5 might have a 4 or 6 wing, written as 5W4, 5W6, which modifies the core type 5 traits. This is exactly what I've been saying. I should have read through this a little bit more beforehand, but I just wanted to share it with you guys. And now I'm like, yeah, like I said, this guy is doing some really good research. Like a lot of meta-analysis. He's taking a lot of data and doing the statistical analysis on multiple pieces of research and then seeing where the correlations are. So it is really cool stuff. Um, my Jungian type, let's learn about that. They say the ENTJ commander, um, bold and strategic, fueled by a love for progress and a drive to execute complex projects. Rationality guides your innovative solutions, inspiring others towards your ambitious goals. Yep, I can kind of see that. Okay, okay. So anyway, yeah. And then it tells you like where you compare to other people. My thinking is 95% of more than most other users. I can definitely see that. My intuition, like I said, that's why I think I relate so much to them more than my introversion or extroversion. Like or my even judging is pretty high actually. Wow, that's really high. And I guess I do like structure. I I don't like I do like planning, but like I don't need to plan a lot of the time. Like I would say a lot of planning just gets done in my head. Um, but yeah, anyway, you see what this is. So let's see, the distinctive traits are going to be quick-minded, dependable, and exploratory. Yeah, I could see that. I'm not conflict avoidant. I've learned to not be. Like I said previously, I used to be a little bit more. Um, I'm attention seeking, hardworking, leader like. Oh, I'm higher than a lot of people in a lot of things on this. My middle range is intellectual. So I explore abstract ideas or seek deeper insights. Interesting. Perfectionistic, but these are like mid range. Okay. Good, good. Altruism, spontaneity. All right. Well, we went through these guys. Predictions about me. The predictions reflect what users with personalities like yours have answered about their lives. These are not crystal balls, but they give you a bunch of predictions. Am I religious? Neither agree nor disagree. Um, are you satisfied with your work life? Oh, I guess maybe because, oh, okay. I guess I see how they could kind of predict this. These are more like, um, so if intuition was on the outside, like if you look at the four functions, maybe religious would be more agree, where because they're in the middle, it's neither agree nor disagree. Satisfied with work life, neither agree nor disagree. That's a little weird because TE and FI would be on the outside. So you would think, well, I guess ENTJs are known to do things whether they're satisfied or not. They're just trying to get it done, kind of. Um, See, I would do that, but I would know I wasn't satisfied. That's the difference. I would. Which is interesting. See, this is why I think it's so much fun with the type stuff. Because you get the nuance of all the complexities of being a person. Never had a experienced trauma is what it predicts. On average, how many hours a day do you spend on social media? Hours a day. Okay, so all these types of predictions. Anyway, this was just to show you guys. And then some AI personality insights. I did this with my own AI, but obviously you could feed it through something. You could feed it through the one they have. They're going to understand it a little better. Career suggestions. Um, well, whatever my career is, it's going to be something I do on my own because the same way I promote you guys to do that, that's what I do believe is what you should try to do is, you know, you should open your own business. You should become very independent. You should make sure the business is something that you like to do. You should build it from the ground up. And then, you're going to get the freedom and the ability to really figure out what you want to do in life and what you like and all those types of things. So the career suggestion for me, um, I won't pay too much attention to that. I do like to see like what kind of field it says, like chief operating officer in a tech startup, which is like, yeah, I could definitely do that. Like that's what like it's kind of like what my work in the lab is. Like it's kind of like a tech startup because they have no tech and I build the tech. And I design our projects and then I work with teams to make sure that they get done right. Personally, I like to have the skills, so I do build things on my own um, using AI and code and other things. So, yeah, it's interesting. Anyways, who's in here? Anybody in here? Come on. All right. Well, this stream's been going on for a while now. And um, was there anything else? Nope. I think I'm good. Mm. All right. So I showed you guys a lot of what I wanted to show you. happy I got to talk about Clearer Thinking podcast because I think it's a really good podcast. I think a lot of people will like it, and I'm going to share more of the podcasts that I listen to. I really like to promote people who I think are doing good work. And if nobody has any questions, I'm going to end the stream. But hope you guys catch this later on. Hope you guys find something useful. Maybe you guys will show up in my next stream. And if you do watch this, just let me know, like, hey, you should stream at this time, or you should stream about this, because I'll do that. Um, anyway, see y'all later. Thanks for watching.